everyone. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to take you on a tour and give you a bit of an update on our raised beds. It's something that we started up, I think, in the spring of this year, and it's been like work in progress. The more we deal with it, the more we changed. And so I just thought I'd take you on a tour inside and tell you how we got around things. So the first thing, I guess, as I get in through this gate, is we put a fence. Yay! So we had this really awful makeshift fence, mostly to keep the deer and the critters out of our raised beds. And it took us so long, and by us I mean me, to figure out what style fence I wanted, how tall I wanted it to be. And so we kind of just waited to see if the critters come back. And we came to realize that the deer don't really jump over fences that are so close to raised beds. Like it's kind of an awkward jump. So we're hoping that this height is enough. I think this just came from like a Lowe's or a Home Depot, and it was pretty decently easy to install. I say that because I did none of the work. Our general contractor, wonderful Peter, came in and put them in together, assembled them. A lot of it had to go into the ground pretty deep. So if you're purchasing these, I recommend that you put them somewhere where you have soil, like just mud or soil rather than rocks, because that was the one thing that we had trouble with. Like if you notice, it's not straight at a certain point, it bends off because there's this giant rock in the ground that we just couldn't get around. And the other thing that I also changed was there used to be grass all over the base of the raised beds. Yeah, that got old very quickly because that meant that we had to get our landscapers to mow these parts, and then all the grass started getting into the raised beds and causing weeds. So we just laid down landscape fabric and threw rocks over it. And I think it just looks a lot neater. But yeah, so in terms of our beds itself, the one thing I learned is if you look at this one, we don't have a lot of things growing in it, mostly because it probably gets slightly less than 6 hours of full sun, and not a lot of things thrived in it. I do have a few tomatoes that I had thrown in the last minute, and they're doing okay. I have a bunch of tomatoes growing on them. We got some basil, and for I think the first half of the summer, we had this entire fencing was covered with snow peas. Was it snow peas? Snap peas. And that thing just got so huge. We had all three of them, I think, were covered in it. And we got a whole bunch of snap peas, and eventually ended up getting what is that? Powdery mildew. And so I pulled it all out, and now there's just tomatoes and pole beans growing on it, which is pretty good. But I just wish that the powdery mildew situation hadn't happened. So from this planter onwards that you're seeing on this end, um, all of them did pretty well. So we've got all these varieties of tomatoes. Like, look at that. These are these sun-kissed or sun-gold type of tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. They're so delicious. They never make it inside the house because I just eat them off the vine. A lot of them have kind of fallen off, and like there's only so many tomatoes I realize that I can eat. Our neighbors are getting a lot of them. Karthik doesn't eat any tomatoes, so it's all me. Um, and so what I did in this one is I planted a bunch of herbs. So we've got basil, we've got parsley that's being overtaken by tomatoes. By the way, if you guys are growing tomatoes, keep on all the pruning because they get really crazy really quickly. The other one that's really tasty that I highly recommend is this thing called Sweet Million. So it's like another a round cherry tomato, but they're absolutely delicious. Next year, I don't think I'm going to have these orange ones. They look nice. They don't taste as nice. Um, Sweet Million is the way to go. The other one that I got is the Juliet Hybrid. So it's these guys, kind of like a miniature version of a raw tomato. They're okay. They're a little meaty. So those are another ones that I'm probably not going to get next year. I'm going to stick with Sweet Million. And of course, we have our heirloom tomatoes. They're doing really well. Absolutely massive. This one is called Cherokee Purple. Cherokee purple tomato. And I'm clearing this bed out. There isn't much going on in it right now. We had cabbage, lettuce, broccoli, and then of course these sunflowers, which I'll talk about in a minute. Um, we did harvest cabbages and lettuce and some broccoli, and then the rest of it ended up getting like worms, and I'm kind of completely freaked out of worms. So I ended up tossing them. And so I'm cleaning this out. I'm probably going to end up adding a lot more compost and garden soil. And I'm going to end up planting onions and garlic. So yeah, onions and garlic in the fall in this raised bed, by which time the sunflowers would be done. So have a look. Look at these branching sunflowers. Aren't they pretty? They're super tall. You can probably see them from our patio pretty clearly, actually. Um, Second, that's one of the mistakes I made. So I've moved sunflowers around the property just in the hopes that I'm going to have them facing the house one day. And once again, these are facing away from the patio and from the house. And it seems like sunflowers don't really follow the sun once they've bloomed. I didn't know this. I discovered this like way later. But basically, like when they're buds, they follow them, and when they bloom, they face the rising sun. So the rising sun is in the direction that you're seeing away from the house. And so our neighbors are getting a great view. Oh well. And on this end, we had planted cucumbers, we had planted beetroots and strawberries. And wow, are these cucumbers going insane? I don't even know what to do with. Look at that. I don't know if you can see them, but there's like one over here. It's for Pokey. Got one cucumber down there. We've got two more down there, and a whole bunch hanging from the cucumber plants further down in the other raised bed. So the cucumbers are doing really well. I might save some seeds for next year, as are the strawberries. So this is I got an Albion variety, and they're an ever-bearing strawberry, and that's true to word. They've pretty much had berries like throughout the summer. They had one huge flush, and they've been producing strawberries like slowly and consistently ever since. And they're pretty big. They're super tasty as well. So I would say that I get about like 10 to 15 berries daily that are ripe. I also have some beetroot in there that you can't really see, but they're doing really well. There's more tomatoes on this end. I want to show you one that's like massive. Look at this guy. It's one of our heirlooms. I think I ended up nicking it with something while I was cleaning. But this is one massive tomato. I can't wait to see what this thing weighs up at. I've also got another bunch of really big ones coming up. I guess because we're like midsummer, things are starting to ripen pretty quickly. And the other thing I'm doing is I'm going to start cutting my losses at this point. There's a lot of flowers and little berries coming up. I'm going to start trimming off the ends just so that I can allow for these tomatoes to start to ripen and, not let this plant waste all its energy on producing all these leaves. So eventually all this is going to go. So we have more sunflowers on this end that needed to be staked because we had a day or two where it was so windy that I thought that they would fall over. I realized so these sunflowers all came from seeds that I collected from sunflowers that I planted last year. And it looks like I got all the same variety blooming, even though I had three of them, three different varieties. This one must be pretty hardy. There's a few seed heads. I think there's one up there eventually that I'll collect some seeds from. It's a cute variety. I'm hoping to get some yellow ones next year. But anyway, on this one, we've got this raised bed. We have more tomatoes. Actually, mostly tomatoes. Oh, there's also under the tomatoes, we have a potato vine on the other end that you obviously can't see. I'm going to end up pulling them out by the end of. Can you see them? Okay. Oh, so of course we have. I think these are Roma tomatoes. Whatever it is, they're massive. Let me see if I can find a label. No label. Oops. Oh, here they are. These are called San Marzano. Let me pull this out. I don't think I'm pronouncing it right. Yeah, they look like cherry tomatoes on the picture. That's what I thought they were. But it turns out to be like really massive. I'm going to be making a lot of tomato sauce this year. And over here is our hops plant. So we have a golden hops, and I just put it in to see what happens. And we have the cutest little hops. Look at that. Decorative purposes only. I don't think I'm going to be making beer from these. But they're super cute. It's like ornamental. I think that's pretty much it. On this end, it's just like a hot mess. This potato plant looks like it's ready to go. I don't know if I have any potatoes in here that I can see. Oh, I actually feel one. I feel a potato. Okay, that's the weirdest feeling, but yeah. I'm going to dig those out and show them to you at some point. The point of, well, potatoes are to be removed once the plant looks super dead. And they seem to be looking pretty good right now. So, oh, there's another cucumber. Anywho, so that is a quick tour of what's going on in our raised beds. It's super productive right now. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to be really sad when I have to pull all this stuff out, but I'm hoping to plant something that's going to take me through the fall. Garlic and onions mostly, maybe some lettuce and cabbage and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and do subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.